Hi guys, in this video I want to make some Animal Crossing themed biscuits and I'm just using some Renshaw's ready to roll icing. So this fondant or ready to roll icing is pre-coloured for me. Just saves me a bit of time. And I'm using the digestive biscuits because I hadn't really done much baking during lockdown and coronavirus because I couldn't get hold of all the ingredients. These are what are left over from a big pack that I bought. So I've rolled the fondant nice and thin and I'm just going to cut out a circle that's about the same size as the digestive biscuit. So I've cut out 3 of this one. So this is the paler brown. And what I'll do is I'll put links in the description box below the video as well so that you can see everything that I've used. I'm just going to put a little bit of royal icing on there. Just a small amount just to help the fondant stick. So just gently give it a little smooth on. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to break the biscuit or the cookie. So we're just going to do that again on another one. So I've got a darker brown now. So we're doing the same thing again, rolling it nice and thin. You want to go thin because you don't want the roller icing too thick. Otherwise, it's very sweet. So we've rolled it nice and thin. I've cut out a circle. And then from that circle, I'm going to cut out a large oval just near the bottom there to start with. So this is a, I think it's called an FMM face cutter. But again, I'll put links below the video so you can see what it is that I'm using. So I'm then turning it round and using like the curved edge of the big circle to kind of create a bit of a curve there. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing with it there. I've not got it quite even, but I'm just going to use my finger to just nudge that round, smoothing off the line. And if you want, you can just use a knife and cut this freehand if you prefer. I wanted really to make these ones so they were ideal for children to make. And when I run children's classes here at the shop, which obviously we're not doing at the moment, but when we try and do things without the use of like sharp knives, at least for younger children anyway. So I've done the same thing on both. Now I actually don't have the game Animal Crossing, but it's something that people have been requesting, things that were Animal Crossing themed. So I Googled some pictures and we're going to, I think these are the main characters, I think, but we're going to just place the brown, the darker brown on top of the lighter brown there. So we've got a bit more space at the bottom than we have at the top. So I'm going to use the tiny circle bit. So I just want to cut out small circles. Sometimes you have to use a paintbrush handle or something to push it out of that hole. And then we're going to pop that in place, almost where that dip is, or arch, I should say, that arch just there. And we'll do exactly the same with the other one. Now, if they don't stick, you can put a tiny dab of water underneath them and it should hold it in place. I'm going to cut out 2 of the larger oval shapes and we're going to use these for the eyes. So stick them on so they are taller than they are wide. Just be careful of any sort of scruffy edges. Just see if you can rub them gently with your fingers. Now, fondant or sugar paste is quite soft, so you do have to be very careful because it's very easy to stretch it out of shape. So we're cutting 2 more of those oval shapes. And we're also going to cut 2 again, but in the really pale pink. And I'm going to stick them together, leaving a little bit of the pale brown showing above the pink. And these are going to become the ears. So where I've overlapped them, the pink kind of sticks out a little bit at the bottom. So I'm just going to use the edge of the round cutter to trim a little bit off that pink at the bottom of each ear. So it just leaves us with a little arch. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of water on there and we're going to stick that in place. It probably won't stick very well to the naked part of the cookie or the biscuit. But if you can try and press it against the other bit of fondant or sugar paste, then it should stick. You might need to hold it in place just for a second, but it will stick. Now I'm going to use an edible pen to just draw a curve or an arch across each eye. So hopefully this is going to make it look like its eyes are closed. Again, I'll put links in the description box below to what I'm using here. If you don't have a pen, you could just draw a line in with a modelling tool and have it as an indentation. So it's a fairly basic looking character, this one. So the other one, we're going to do the eyes open. So for eyes open, we've rolled the white really thin and we've cut 2 more of those ovals. So we're going to put an oval now in each one. I'm going to gently mark the oval that I want using the cutter. So I'm just pressing very gently just to give me an outline. And I'm going to colour this in with my black edible pen. Now, if you don't have the edible pen, then you can always use some black fondant and you're going to roll it really thin and just cut these out in the oval shapes and stick them on rather than colouring it in. Because I had my edible black pen to hand, I thought I might as well colour it in. And I've just made them just a tiny bit bigger than that original oval outline, but that's fine. So again, we're going to make ears for this one in exactly the same way as we did for the first one. I'm just going to add a little bit of black just around the edge of the nose, just to make it stand out a little bit more. So remember, guys, these are edible pens. Please don't just use any felt pen on your cookies. And I'm just using my brush, which is slightly damp, to kind of spread the colour so it looks a bit more shaded. So let's have a go at some other characters. So I think with the game, you maybe build your own character maybe. I don't really know a lot about it, to be honest. Like I say, people had requested this one, so I thought I'd give it a go. So this is like a really pale skin tone that I'm using for this one. And we're going to cut out a disc that's a similar size to the cookie, just as we did before. I'm going to stick it down again with royal icing. And I'm starting by just drawing on a little curve with my edible pen for a mouth. Next, I've got a slightly darker pink, and we're going to cut a circle. Again, it's the same size as the other circle, but I don't need quite a full circle. So as long as I've got at least a semicircle, it's a little bit uneven on the edges there. And then what I'm going to try and do is use my circle cutter again. Can you see, to cut another curve? So it's kind of like a crescent shape. And I'm just going to take a small offcut, a little ball, and push it down here. This is going to be the top part of her hair. So this is actually the ponytail. I know you can't tell at the moment, but this is going to be a ponytail. So that kind of crescent shape, we're just going to cut a couple of little triangles out for her fringe, or for the front of her hair. A couple of lines. So I realise I haven't got any pictures on screen for you guys to see the characters, but if you are making them, you don't have to make them the same as mine, but have a look at pictures online. It's just something fun to do, either yourself or with the children. So I want to put this on so it kind of covers the top part of the face. And we want the original pieces of pink to look like they're just sticking out from the back of it. So I've got a small oval, which we're going to cut in half. So this is the really pale skin tone that we're using. And I'm just going to stick it on either side of the head, or on both sides of the head for the ears. Next, let's do two ovals, but in white. So it's a smaller oval, and these are going to be the eyes. I'm just going to cut a small little bit off the bottom of each eye, just to change the shape slightly. And I have used a knife for this bit. So let's stick these on. They're actually not too much higher than the mouth itself. Sometimes they stick to your board a little bit. If it happens, you can put some corn flour down to stop it sticking, or even a little bit of icing sugar. I usually prefer corn flour. Give it a good press on. So I'm just drawing a little bit of an edge around the top curve. Oops, a little bit untidy there. You guys can spend a bit longer on it if you want than I have done. A little flick out either side. And then I've got a different colour. This is a blue, like a dark blue pen. And you can use any kind of food colouring. You can paint it on. You don't have to use a pen, or you could just roll out the oval shape and stick it on in the actual fondant. Let's just get a little tiny piece of pink for the nose. Now, I think they look like they've got weird noses, these characters. How many of you guys have been playing Animal Crossing? I would like to play it. Is it a Nintendo Switch? Is that what you played it on? I don't have one of those. So I'm just darkening around the edge of the nose with the red pen. Again, it's not necessary like for you to do these bits. If you don't have the pen, you don't have to have one. I just thought I added a nice extra little touch. If I want to have the eyes a little bit more shaded, what I'm going to do is take a bit of that colour out using a slightly damp but clean brush, and if I rub it over, it just removes a tiny bit of that blue. And I'm just going slightly around some of the edges with the red pen. Again, a wet brush, just to blend that out a little bit so the lines aren't as harsh looking. Try not to completely soak the cookie though. So there's our first three characters. So I'm going to have another go at one of the people characters. Let's go for a slightly darker skin tone this time. I've just added a little bit of brown into the leftover bit that I had from the previous one. Starting with that disc, the same as we did before. I'm going to draw on the mouth. So they're very simple shape-wise of these mouths. It's just a little curve. And this character that I looked up kind of had like a grey colour hair. So we want a curve again, and then I'm going to cut the bottom edge to the hairline that I want. And then stick that on. I think I prefer the girly looking hairstyles more. So we're doing the same for the ears. So you want the skin tone, a little oval of it, and we cut it in half, and then we just press it against the side of the head. So just put it a little bit lower than the hairline. Just going to darken up that hair a little bit by adding a bit of the black pen. Then we're going to kind of water it down a little bit so it's not an obvious line like what I've left it. So can you see the water kind of spreading it? So I've put quite a bit of water on my brush this time, but you don't have to put as much as that on. You don't even have to add the pen if you don't want to. It's just stopped it being one flat colour for me. So we're going to do that pink nose again. So roll a little kind of tiny carrot shape, and we're cutting off the round end, so we're left with like a pointy kind of triangle. Apologies for my scruffy bits of hair in shot. So this character looked like he had a little plaster over his nose. I don't know if that's what it was or not, but it looked like a little plaster. So I've just cut a little rectangle in white, put it over his nose. Then we've got two ovals in white. This time I'm not changing the shape of them. I'm going to leave them as an oval. But I've kind of sloped them inwards a little bit. So I'm just going to do a bit of an outline around the edge in my pen, my edible pen. If you don't want the outline, it's fine without. Tiny little pupil in each eye. And then we're going to go around that with a little bit of an iris, and I'm going to do that in brown. Just going to add a touch of the brown just around the edge of the face and maybe a tiny bit into the hair. Not much in the hair though. So there's the 4 characters. Now there's loads of different characters when I was looking online, so I couldn't decide which ones to do. I feel that I should really give the game a play. I need to get a hold of that game. But if you do have a go at making them, it'd be nice to see what you guys have made with your biscuits, especially if it's Animal Crossing themed. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.